All right, get my shadow out of there. This is 2021 middle. We're halfway through, more than halfway through. It's the end of June right now, 2021. And I haven't had I don't think I've done one of these videos in 2021 at all. The update on the Ventures collection. I don't think I've done one in 2021. So it's been a while, and that's because I've got everything, and it's hard to find stuff I don't have. But I have found a few things, and so here is that. What's so great about this? This is Ventures on Stage. I've shown other copies of this before. This one I found out about recently. The real more fanatical fans, such as I am, will notice something a little different about this cover, this particular version of the Ventures on Stage. These pictures are great down here. And what they will notice is that it's not saying where they were on stage. So if I pull out a domestic copy, this is an English copy that I never had before. I have not had an English copy of the Ventures on Stage. Well, here is a US, and I pulled out the mono one. It's the only mono version of this album I have, other than this new English UK version. It says the Ventures on Stage around the world in Japan, England, and the US. And they never went to Japan. They certainly went to Japan. They never went to England. Around the world in Japan, England, and the US. Who thought it would be okay to put England on there when there was the Ventures never had been to England and unfortunately never went over there. England, the UK was pretty happy with their Shadows anyway, but I found a very fine group, of course, the Shadows. But so they had never been in England, and so when this album was to be released in England, not all Ventures albums were released in England, but quite a few were, and so they apparently did want to put this one out, and so they left off this. Now, I'm told, and I haven't put this on the record player yet, that the speaking where there is on the actual recording, you play the vinyl, and normally you hear a very bad English accent talking about how here they are, here in England, the Ventures, something stupid like that, with a bad English accent, and that is left off of this version. It still has the fake audience, the fans, the more involved Ventures fans know that this is not a real live album. It's a fake live album. It was recorded studio live, and the Ventures the producers added fake audience to it, and it's kind of annoying. The audience loops, you hear it looping, so you hear the same whistle here and there, being repeated. These pictures, I'm quite sure, from Japan. This looks like a Japanese amplifier that they used at one time. So these are on stage in Japan pictures, but the recording is studio live, and so I said on the previous video when I talked about this that it is both the most honest and most dishonest Ventures album. Honest because it really is the four of them playing all the way throughout, and whereas so many Ventures albums have additional session players helping them out, filling out the sound. If they were on tour, two of the Ventures would go on tour with hired backing musicians, and then the other two would stick around and record the next album, because they were putting 4 albums out a year for quite a while there. Anyway, so I'm going on and on about this, but it is interesting. It does not have this text about them playing in England. Yes, they played in Japan. It's been wonderful that the non-audience version of this is available on Ace Records, In the Vaults Volume 4, In the Vaults Volume 5. Those are the wonderful CDs that came out. They were never put on vinyl, but they're from the CD era. And boy, it took a long time for them to come out with Volume 5. They had Volume 4, and it was so wonderful. You had 7 tracks from this album, and the studio live recordings. Let's get a look at the label here. It's just got the Liberty label. Now this is in some kind of wax, it looks like. You know, I know it's not, or it's probably not, but the cellophane is kind of blurring it. But that's the Liberty label, the label they were on in England. I keep saying Japan, in England. And that looks like an original inner sleeve for it. Anyway, so I was thrilled to find out there was something I didn't know about. I think it was Hideki Soda in Japan, who runs the Ventures Yellow Jacket, who posted this and said, hey, you know, this doesn't have in England on it. Okay, Ventures Twist Party Volume 2. I found another copy of this, monaural white label promo, and I actually already have a mono white label promo, but this one is a little better condition, so I always like to upgrade, and if they're cheap enough, and actually I probably did overpay, I think I did on this one, but yeah, it's such a great album, the Twist Party Volume 2, with the first cover, and then of course again to have the promo cover, the promo label. Yeah, and you know, this is one of these Blue Tail Fly, Swanee River Twist, Dark Eyes Twist, where they're taking public domain songs and putting their arrangements on them. I don't know, but anyway, there's so many great tunes on this. The 2 Twist albums, the first 2 were so great, and then the other 2 dancing albums, the Mashed Potatoes and the Going to the Ventures Dance Party, were also really great. But this is the album on which Mel Taylor joined the Ventures. You know, halfway through the recording sessions, Mel Taylor came to join the band, but they don't put the band on the back cover. Let's see, do I have one of these handy that I can show the back cover? Yeah, here it is. Here it is with the, now this is nice to have too. They both have this audition record, so I always like when I get a promo copy to have the cover also have that audition record stamp on it, because then I know it hasn't been given the old switcheroo somewhere down the line where somebody had the promo copy but the jacket was messed up, so they put it in a new jacket. So this particular version also has that audition record thing, a stamp on it. But I just wanted to show what the back cover looked like. All right. Walk Don't Run, another of my favorite Ventures albums from the Fender years. Why do I have yet another copy? Because I have quite a few copies of this, variations, label variations from different, and then versions from different countries. I've shown them in other videos, previous videos. Look at this old Stratocaster here. I think that is a 50s Strat, because I'm not, it could be a, well, it's definitely a 50s because it's got the maple neck. These are details that Stratocaster players know. It doesn't seem to have any cherry, but it could be. It could have just not made the photo very well. And if it had a little, if it's what they call a tobacco burst, where it's doesn't have any cherry, any red in the burst, that means it's pre-1958, so it could be a 57, 56, or 55, or 54 Stratocaster. Anyway, it's definitely, this album I've talked about before, and you know, it came out in 19 60, at the end of 1960, and so anyway, so this. Yeah, so this would have been an older Strat. This was not a brand new Strat, unless they took the picture earlier, but I don't think they would have done that. Now this has Noki Edwards' signature. That is Noki Edwards' signature. I'm going to be keeping it in very carefully protected in this clear sleeve here, and the reason for that is that while this is a nice example of a Noki Edwards signature, it was signed on the shrink wrap. Now the fact that this album even has shrink wrap, I think I've also talked about that before, means it's not an early first pressing. They didn't start doing shrink wrap until maybe I don't know if there's actual pinpoint on the year when they did that, but I think it was 62 or 63 they started putting shrink wrap on records. So it was probably an early version, but I don't say what label this is. I don't have it. Sometimes I have a piece of paper telling me whether it's a light blue label. I don't expect this is a light blue label. I think it's a later label. And well, we might as well look at it real quick. Let's see what label we have on there. Oh, now that's interesting. It's a very late label. In fact, it's a Liberty label. Walk, Don't Run the Ventures. I don't know that that's legitimate. I don't know that this record actually came with this jacket. This could have been somebody doing the old, as I call it, the old switcheroo at some point in time. It has a inner sleeve. Looks like well, it's not the. It is a later inner sleeve. Oh, well, that inner sleeve belongs to the period of when that label is on there. Who knows what happened? I mean, it could be all legit, but the as I mentioned, this is shrink wrap on which the Noki Edwards signature is, and that's you got to be very careful. That'll come off, and Noki's not the late great Noki Edwards. He's not around to sign that one again. So anyway, here is this is a Holy Grail that just arrived today. Another smash, the Ventures' third album. Another smash. It is their third album, and I talk about it in more detail with release dates and the songs on it on another video. But I was looking through my collection a couple of years ago and noticed that while I did have a stereo copy of Another Smash, I didn't have it with the light blue label. Well, you gotta have that. Anyway, so I finally found one. It took me 2 years to find one, at least 2 years, it may be 3 years, to find this album with the light blue label. Now, I know a lot of you are the more, as I say, involved or serious Ventures fans. You're saying, oh, I've got it on light blue. It's not that rare. Well, try to find another one these days. It is not easy to find. And so I finally, it came up on eBay, and I finally, so I was happy to get it. It's this, even though this one has somebody's name stamped on it, front and back. But the vinyl's in quite good shape, and so I was quite happy. The cover's not the greatest. I was going to do the old switcheroo myself and put it in a nicer cover, the light blue vinyl, and put it in one that let me just pull one of these out. I'm reaching up here to pull one of these out. Here we go. Oh, that's not the right one. Ah. Okay. So here's a little detail I've found out. I was going to, as I said, I was going to put the light blue copy. My shadow's getting in there. A light blue copy. The light blue vinyl that is in this that I just finally got. I was going to put that in this nice cleaner jacket. If you notice, you can see the color difference. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit smudgy, and this is nice, and this is like I may have bought this one sealed and took the seal, the plastic off, the shrink wrap off. But I have a note here. This is the solid blue, mid-era solid blue Dalton, so there's a later pressing. But the jackets are so close, they're almost identical. And I was looking for what is there a difference at all? The backs look the same. If I show the back of this one, it's the same deal. So the difference is this. I wasn't able to do it. I have to keep the light blue in here. And so these are staying as they were, no switcheroo being involved. The difference is this. If this is being, this can probably be seen. It says printed in USA. This earlier copy does not have that. Does not say printed in USA. So so there is a difference in the covers. It's very slight, and therefore I'm keeping this as is. Here is something I found. I say this is we are in the end of June 2021, and this is, as it says here, the Ventures, the Carpenters Songbook Test Pressing. That's my handwriting on there, and I didn't write it on the actual jacket, and I'll show you why in a second. So that's on the plastic. The Carpenters Songbook. That it's a very schmaltzy Ventures album. How many actual Ventures are actually playing on it? I wouldn't be surprised if there aren't many. But it is, it could be Mel on the drums, or actually by this time it might be Joe Barilli on the drums at that time. I think, that would probably be the case. Test pressing of the Carpenters Songbook. Well, where did I find this? I said this, we're in June of 2021, and Amoeba Records was closed for all, not all, but from March of 2020 until they finally opened. I went there a month ago. I think they opened in May. They could have opened a little earlier. Maybe they did have their opening in April. I think it was, now that I think it through. But it was going to be a big crowd, so I didn't go then. And I waited 3 weeks, and I went in the middle of the week to their new location. After the COVID shutdown, Amoeba Records in Hollywood, which used to be on Sunset and Cahuenga, moved to Hollywood and Vine. And I think that's where it is. Don't quote me. But I could look it up. But anyway, I was able to get in during the week, 3 weeks after they opened, and looked at, as I always do at the Ventures section, and had a test pressing of Carpenters, and it wasn't expensive. And I said, well, I got to have that. And so, it's not that, it's a very schmaltzy album. I love the Carpenters. I love the Ventures, but I probably haven't listened to this album too many times. Ventures Carpenters Songbook is printed on a sticker here. B&W Productions. I think that's Bogle and Wilson is what the B&W are. And then they had a little address, 6255 Sunset. I don't know that I found this in any of the books, which doesn't mean it's not there. I haven't vanquished the books. Some of the authors get mad if I don't. The detail I'm missing is in their book. Well, I haven't vanquished the books. But anyway, let's look at the label now. The label is cool too, because here it is. Carpenter's Songbook. They made they printed out a nice label. Carpenter's Songbook. The Ventures, Side 1, 1827. Alan Zentz Mastering is what it says here. Yeah, and then that has a Sunset Boulevard address in Hollywood. What was the address of the production company? That was the same address. Okay. Sunset Boulevard, Hollywood, 6255. So this was probably not a production address. You know, it's, oh, it is. Okay, so it's not. It's Alan Zentz. I missed the detail. You guys are probably, those of you looking at the video probably already saw that. Suite 19. Okay, so that's a mastering address. That's not a B&W Productions address. But, you know, it's a collectible. It's not a valuable one. Nobody's going to pay big money for a test pressing of Carpenter's songbook. But if you're a Ventures nut like me, you want these kind of interesting alternative pressings. This is the Marquettes album. I don't know if I talked about this before. That has the same players that were on the Ventures Only Hits album. That now the producer should be the same. I'm not seeing her here. There it is. Joe Saraceno's name is right here. Produced by Joe Saraceno. So this, you know, he had the Marquettes, and he produced the hit "Let's Go" with the Marquettes, and in the 60s, and I've told the story. You can read about it, where Don Wilson wasn't quite happy that he chose the Marquettes to do that. He could have had the Ventures have the hit with that, but he had the studio group, and he called them the Marquettes. Well, these are probably not the same Marquettes that were in the studio back then. He's just trying to put out an instrumental album, and so you know, I don't know the names of the players. I have mentioned it when I did the, oh yes I do. I know because they're listed here. Ben Benet on lead guitar, Mike Henderson on sax, Ray Pullman on bass, Gene Pello percussion and drums, Tom Hensley on piano, Richard, am I going to read this right? Abauka on keyboard. I know that's probably not exactly right. But anyway, so these are the same players that Saraceno hired to do the Only Hits album. There is one track on the Only Hits album that has Bob Bogle on it at the very least. Joe Saraceno may have done some percussion. Not Joe Saraceno. He's the producer. Joe Barilli may have done some percussion on the Only Hits album. The Only Hits album, which I have right here. This is the one I'm talking about. So the band on this album, Only Hits, is the same as the band. This is a sealed copy, isn't it? Yeah, it's a nice sealed copy of it. Only Hits. This band is the same band that plays on the Ventures Only Hits album. One other thing I want to say, Only Hits has come out on CD a couple of times. On the One Way label, as well as the C for Miles in England. Ventures Carpenters Songbook's only been on CD once, and it was on a pairing with the Jim Croce songbook, and that's a. Do I have that handy here? That is a nice collection. There it is. This CD, I think, is the only time either of these albums has come out on CD. I'm quite sure. C for Miles, so if you can get that one, that's a good one to have. I guess schmaltzy stuff, as I say. Probably a lot of studio players, but I don't know. They're good albums. Produced by Joe Saraceno again. So anyway, that's all I have for this time around. Is it? Yeah, that's it. And it'd probably be a good long time before I have enough new Ventures goodies to show, unless I dig into the treasure trove and find some interesting stuff to talk about that I haven't posted before. But that's it for now.